Yep.
I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. We'll go ahead and do another moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which we did with the Park Board recently, but we'll do it again for this meeting. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Gink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here.
Ms. Nenny.
Here.
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Okay, this evening we will start with citizen comments. We have one that is Mr. Jeff Payne. If you want to come up to the dais and state your name and address for the record, we would love to hear from you.
Jeff Payne, Downtown Middletown, Inc., 1050 Central Avenue, Suite 2750. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to share with you two important things in the brief time that you've allotted me. Saturday, May 20th, from 12 noon to 6 p.m., DMI will be holding the 10th anniversary Women's Wine and Chocolate Walk. We have 10 premium wine stops and 10 handcrafted chocolate stops throughout downtown Middletown, along with a number of fun things to do. You can order tickets through Eventbrite, or you can go to the DMI webpage at www.downtownmiddletown.org and use the link there to order your tickets. And we are also looking for volunteers to assist our team of volunteers in hosting this wonderful event. The second item I wanted to speak on is I wanted to announce a new partnership between Main Street America, the National Main Street Organization, and Grow with Google. This partnership will provide digital skills training through free workshops for small businesses located throughout the state of Ohio during the remainder of this year. On May 8th at 9 a.m., Downtown Middletown, Inc. and our Grow with Google local partner, Miami University Regional Campus, will celebrate this particular partnership, which will include the first in-person free technical training workshop. This event, again, will be held at Miami University Middletown Regional Campus in room 142 Johnston Hall. Any interested Middletown small business can sign up for this free training by going to the DMI website at www.downtownmiddletown.org and use the link provided for this free training. Just a little bit of background. Main Street America, through Heritage Ohio, designated Downtown Middletown, Inc. as the State of Ohio coordinator for the program. Downtown Middletown, Inc. has partnered with Miami University Middletown Regional Campus to provide this free technical training. Dr. Janet Hearn of Miami University eCampus is our Grow with Google digital coach, and she's, I'll call her like a 6-degree black belt in Google training. Trust me, she's good. Throughout this year, Dr. Hearn will be leading various workshops that will provide a variety of courses free of charge that are aimed at improving the online presence of our local businesses. This can be done in a number of ways. Some will be online and some will be in person. We'd like your assistance in helping us get the word out about this tremendous opportunity that, again, is totally free for our businesses. And we're asking if you have some suggestions in ways that we can be more successful, to please let us know.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for
right,
everything you
thank
guys are doing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, next we have council comments. Oh, we have another one. Okay, we have Jennifer Carter, if you'd like to come on up to the dais.
We have another one.
Okay.
I think he did sit and turn it in. He had it.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Carter, 716 6th Avenue, Middletown. And I'm here on behalf of the Middletown Connect ambassadors. And I'm here to thank all of the members. And I have a list of the people who attended our bus ride in the, I'll call it the census tract that we are concerned with. And it's with the our city council members, city department heads, leaders in our school system, healthcare, and hospitals for participating. Census Tract 130, 131, and 132. This bus ride meant a lot to us, and you guys showed up. So we are really thrilled that you showed up, because we all are part of this community, and we want a healthy and vibrant community. And so with us riding and seeing the census tracts, it shows us where we got work to do and where we can go to do this work. So thank you. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you for your work being an ambassador in that program. Okay, and the third citizen comment is Jerry Dobbins, if you want to come on up to the dais and state your name and address for the record.
Jerry Dobbins, 309 McKinley Street, right across from Miami Park. A couple years back, council was thinking about putting a dog park across the street from us. That wasn't a good idea. I can't say this is a terrible idea except for what I'm looking at here, which means that I don't see the park anymore. Okay? If park was over on the side where McKinley's at, and was blocking the view of where my mom used to work across the street at Smurfit, and that might be different. Building a few more houses and, obstructing the views that we've had in that neighborhood. I think I started living there off and on since 1978. I think that would not be the right way to go. You're giving a bunch of new people that are going to move in a park in their backyard, and the people who've lived there a lot of their lives now aren't going to have it. Okay? I mean, I watched the kids growing up and playing over there. I watched the gentleman who lived right over there on Fleming go and plant all those nice pine trees that are up and down Miami on that side, and the ones that have been moved. I can't say if a different setup for it might be okay, but the way it sits right there right now, that just hurts me. It hurts me bad that something like this could happen where I live. Even if it might help the city in some degree, might help the parks in some degree, other places. But I know there's other places that something like this could be done, like over off of Grand Avenue, right near where the hospital used to be. Great big park there that I don't ever see anybody in. So, thank you for your time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being the first piece of feedback we have on, on a very recent discussion. We appreciate it. Okay, next, that brings us to council comments. We'll start with Mr. Farrell.
Thanks, Mayor. First off, thanks to the Parks Board. Thanks for council for coming in earlier. Thank you for coming down and your words. I appreciate it. Whether they're for what I believe or against what I believe or neither, I appreciate the feedback, seriously. First off, Councilman Meterspall and I did a Facebook Live event where we kind of talked about the updates, what's going on in the city. I think we're up to 4,900 views on that, so it was really exciting. A lot of people that I thought didn't care reached out to me and gave their suggestions one way or another. And once again, I appreciate the feedback. Second thing, obviously the police in this city, everybody knows they're worked hard. They're working overtime. All the issues they're facing. And we've invested all this money economically through ARPA funds and different things into how to build our economy and how to make this city last long term. But I asked the chief, I asked the city manager if there's something we can do with ARPA funds to where we can help make the city more safe, because if the city's not safe, we don't have a city long term. So I just want to myself put it out there, whatever we can do, at least from my perspective as a council, to make sure the city stays safe, I'm willing to do it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Ninny.
Thank you. I just want to make a brief announcement about an appearance that I will be making in the CBI fundraiser next Thursday. It is going to be held at the Sorg Theater at 7 o'clock on Thursday, May 11th, and you can purchase tickets on their website. It supports CBI and all of the efforts that they make towards assisting our youth and our community in Middletown. When you get to the website, there are all of the participants listed there. If you click on me, then I get credit for your donation. So they'll have us up there on stage at the Sorg singing with a live band to the song of our choice. So I am very much looking forward to that and not at all nervous. But
What song?
I
What
just wanted
song?
to
Gotta
extend
know
the
what song.
invitation. So I'm singing Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. So one that everyone knows, not an easy song. All right, and that's all I have for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moon.
Well, I will not be performing. I don't have those special talents. And my son has a baseball game, so unfortunately I'll be at that. I did want to thank Ms. Carter at Middletown Connect and the OHIS grant group for hosting us on that bus tour. Jackie and Deanna, I know there was a lot of work that went involved in planning that and picking out the sites. I think there's some good takeaways from that, so look forward to working more on that. And then I too also want to thank Park Board for joining us just before the meeting. If you didn't join us before, I'm sure that'll be on YouTube as well if you want to hear about that discussion. And it was good just to have that collaborative, open discussion before this meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Meterspaw.
Yes, just a few things, Mayor. As Councilman Farrell mentioned, we did a Facebook Live, and really it was just informative to get the word out there, kind of what's going on. We started doing this about a year ago, just so people could understand where we're coming from. But it was, what we were really happy with is the turnout, but the questions, there were so many questions asked that we didn't have answers for. So, which really blew our minds considering we've lived here our whole lives, and there were things we didn't know. So it was, we reached out to the manager and his staff, and they were able to correct and fix some things immediately based on that. So we were really happy that people took the time to ask questions and get involved. Even the tough questions, I thought were good questions. So thank you for that. Again, thank you to people like Jennifer Carter, who just stood up here, and Steve Lewis. You guys, and there's others, but I appreciate your passion and what you come up with the city, and it's just good to have people that care that come up here. Last thing, real quick, is to echo what Councilman Farrell said about the police, and yeah, I get accused all the time being, partial to the police, and there's a lot of truth to that. But I also know what a safe city can do for your city. And when I talk to other chiefs, as I still do all the time, and I talk about what's going on there and what's going on here with crime rates and things like that, we just have to have some way to do it, to fix it. And I don't know what the answer is. I'd be lying if I said I had an answer, but I know we need to kind of look at money for some more staffing at some point. I know we've discussed that, but that's the number one complaint we're getting right now is the sirens every night. and the shootings, and we can't dismiss it by not acknowledging it and talking about it. It has to be addressed. And I just think we need to try to do a little bit more as a city for our police department and our medics. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick reminder to everyone a little bit early that Mother's Day is the 14th of May, so that's going to be coming up before our next council meeting. The Shriners have a car show at Smith Park on that day. It's really well attended. Go take your mom out to a car show if you want. It sounds like a lot of fun. The city will have a proclamation there. It'll be a great event, and also just an early Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in Middletown.
Are you flying in? Are you paratrooping in?
I might be. And then I thought I'd also give a thank you to Council Members Muterspaw and Farrell for the Facebook Live events. I heard it was very good, and every effort we can make to communicate in different ways and unique ways with our citizens is not only valuable but critical. So thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
There was one question I heard a lot that was still outstanding from that, and that was that people were wondering what was in Councilmember Muterspaw's cup. So someday we'll.
I
like
also
to know.
got that question, so.
No need to answer. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
That's all I had this
Appreciate it.
evening. Mr. Lawley, that brings us to city manager reports.
Thank you. Good evening, council. On the agenda tonight for council or city manager's report, I want to give you an update and invite questions on where we're at with the holiday hoopla ice rink. And before we get into drafting legislation, looking at legal contracts, we want to get some further guidance from council. You recall from the work session, January 21st, 2023, council indicated willingness to spend approximately $246,000 out of non-general fund, out of non-general income funds. And essentially, we're looking at a scenario where the city exercises an option to purchase an ice rink and equipment from a vendor through some sort of an assignment with WUPLA. That is to be determined when we get final direction, hopefully from you tonight, and we sit down with the law department and WUPLA and the ice rink company. Our discussions with the rink firm have the mechanics of the purchase manifesting in an area that the city exercises the right to purchase the rink. The price includes the rink, delivery, setup, and operating the rink for one more season. At the end of the upcoming season, the rink is ours to keep with a 1-year warranty. Hoopla and the city will enter into some type of an agreement where Hoopla will, that W gets me, where Hoopla will act as the city's operator of the event and the facility. And their fundraising efforts in the future will need to cover the future operations and things such as a Zamboni machine, et cetera, some other equipment. Once again, we will be discussing with the law department on what those requirements will be put in place with Hoopla and the ice rink company. There are questions. Unfortunately, I was not at the meeting a couple weeks ago due to illness. Nathan and Lisha and the Hoopla residents or representatives sat down and discussed several things. So they're all here tonight to answer some questions you may have that I cannot. Probably at question, the big question is the conversion of the ice rink to a roller rink in the off season and how much it can be used. We're still discussing that, and I think maybe Nathan and Avon and her crew might be able to give us some further answers on that. So with that said, Nathan, do you have anything to add And then, Avon, I guess I can invite you up if you have anything to add other than what I've brought up.
I'm happy to discuss anything that
Can you touch on the conversion and what?
Okay.
do you want me to come up?
Yes. Yeah, if you could come up to the mic.
Thanks for having me. So the conversion of the ice rink is really the conversion of the pad that the ice rink sits on. Because the ice rink is a bunch of coils that when it's the ice rink season, you roll out the coils, it's hooked up to the chiller, which is filled with a coolant that is pumped through those coils. And then we fill it with water, and then it becomes an ice rink. So at the end of the season, the chillant is removed, the chiller's removed, we roll up the coils, we store that, and it's the cement pad in the permanent location that will become the convertible space for the roller rink. And that's what we would also be fundraising for to get, you could roller rink, you can set up a roller rink on the cement, but if kids fell, they would skin their knees. So what most cities do is they buy it's called a sports pad, and you roller skate on the sports pad. And that is only, it's a fraction, it's like $30,000 to $40,000, where an ice rink is, $700 and something. So that's the convertibility. The space that you're creating is the convertible space, not the ice rink itself. It doesn't like flip over and turn into something. So.
Thank you.
Can I ask Gavin? So I think the last time we talked on the phone which was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said that one of my worries was the warranty. So I am glad to hear that there's some type of warranty in place.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what that covers?
It covers
mostly?
all of the chillant, the coolant that we have, as long as we store it in the place that they recommend. They don't say it can't be in any sun.
Mm-hmm.
All of the equipment, which is the coils that we're going to roll up, also the dasher boards and the things that create it. So it's all of those, and it's all itemized. I have an itemized list, so everything on the itemized list that we're purchasing does have a year warranty on that.
Okay.
And then they will buy back if, like, in 3 years we decide we don't have a taste. They did give us a commitment to purchase the rink back.
Okay, that's what I was going. What can you?
They say, so say we were going to convert it to a permanent location in a pad.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a different price that they would give us because we're buying something from them, so we'd probably get a higher markup for that. But if it's just we're out of the business, it would probably be, there's a percentage.
I don't even want to hold you to a number.
Yeah, I don't
without-
remember what the
that's not
percentage is,
fair.
but it was high. It's not like we're going to lose. It's going to be like 75% of what we put in, if not more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Not
I
gonna
know that
lose.
was my other main concern is
That's not going to lose half of its value in 3 years because he said I can always resell those or re-rent them. They're not like
right.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is an investment in you as much as it is.
Yes, because I have to.
We're
still
investing
raise
in the
$250
person, right.
million dollars a
Yes.
year, yeah.
So I feel confident that I'm investing in you, I'm investing in the rink, so I think it's going to succeed. But if it doesn't, I don't want the taxpayers to be obviously left.
I don't
footing
want
the
to
bill.
either because I'm
right,
doing this
exactly.
for them.
Nobody wants that.
Right. No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. If something did happen, a majority of the cost we'd be able to recover that. That was important to me. So
Yeah.
great.
And then, Avon, the rink that we're getting from them at the beginning of the upcoming season, is that going to be a brand new rink, or is that a used rink that they're
So that's
bringing
the
out and
rink we
leaving
had
for
last
us?
year, which was
It's
a new
the same
rink.
which was new last year.
Yes. So it was the new size. We got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it was new to us and a new rink for them. So they built that for us. And so that's the same rink. They just kind of stored it and it's got Middletown on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we decide not to go for it, they'll put someone else's name. But yeah.
And you're just so I'm correct. You're not asking for any more dollars than originally we discussed at
No,
the
the
original
same-
meeting on this.
The original.
Okay.
Yes.
And then any other funds you would have to fundraise.
Correct.
Okay.
And I do need to know so I can start fundraising because I only have 5 months to get $250,000.
Understandable.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So Hoopla will be purchasing the roller.
So that's part of our continued fundraising efforts because once I buy the Zamboni, the Zamboni is $40,000, so that'll be gone. Then I can start fundraising for ice rink because I've got about 3 years to fundraise for the ice rink before we're in a permanent location. So as we fundraise, we'll just keep putting money to go toward the roller rink and have that ready to go. By the time we've got that cement slab and that park, we should have I could probably get a sponsor just to sponsor that, because it's not a huge. $50,000 is a lot, but it's a very doable thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not asking anything from the city in order to do the roller rink portion?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
But I do appreciate the commitment from Hoopla to do that eventually, because I think that year-round capability is going to be important for the longevity of that location and that space and all of that, yeah.
It is, there's so much going on at Smith Park that why would we not capture it year-round, you know, when we have that opportunity?
Go ahead.
Refresh my memory, when does construction break ground on the big project across the street, and when would it be finished? It's like several years, right?
Yes, we're at least 2 years, 3 years down the road before.
We're talking about the basin.
Oh,
on the
you're,
other
oh,
side of Main
okay, the
Street.
basin, I'm sorry.
And
I was
how
thinking of
long
something else.
completion for that? And I'm gonna hold you to
Going
it,
to
Scott.
start this year.
Okay.
Early 2026.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's a number of years before we're talking about.
So 3 years out, give or take.
But that's the goal, 2026, to be able to have that year-round with the concrete pad.
I think that's gonna be a really nice park when it's done, once we get the final design, and with the deal we just entered in with the Manchester
Seeing the
and
trees
Snyder.
come down, you kind of have
Yeah.
a view
It's
of
all
how
gonna kind of-
large that space is.
And who's paying for will pay for the electric at the new site, the installation of all that?
I think the plan is it'll be incurred by the city.
So it's.
But
and
integrated
what's
into
that
the design
cost?
of
But
that
we're gonna have to do
space,
that one way
or-
or another, is that correct?
No, we won't have to put that
Well,
electric in.
I mean, if for anything we do down there, the answer to that would be yes. If we put other things down there, yes.
I mean, the plan had a stage and some other things. I mean, if we want that park space to be capable for multiple different types of events, I would think that some level of electric.
So then also, as you've seen, I stated earlier that we would also have to sit down and come out with an agreement, an operating agreement with Hoopla, and that might be part of what we cover in there is the funds that are generated by the ice rink and or roller rink and cost recovery may go towards covering the utility cost.
And this is similar to other agreements that we have with users at our various park systems.
Yes.
I was thinking more of the infrastructure cost of putting it in to begin with, like assuming there's at least 10 grand of that we need to think about in advance, that we might not put the same electric in for.
Is a lot of that baked into the design of that park, though, just in general?
I mean, I don't think we're gonna run electric to that same spot, to that level, if we don't have it. I'm just thinking,
I just don't know what that
there
level
are
of electric
costs that we're
use-
not.
Yeah, there are costs, and it's my understanding of the design we're doing for that park on the basin will take into account what our plans are to do with that park, such as seating, park benches,
Sure.
landscaping.
Well, we had originally, I could be wrong, but the last design we had talked about basketball courts and pickleball courts and all that, and I don't know the electric cost on installing enough electric for that versus this ice rink, but I can't imagine it would be too much different.
If you remember, there was like a facility there, because it's operating the electric from the tanks underground too, so.
Right, I just can't imagine that generally costing very much more money. Of course, I could be wrong, I'm not an electrician.
Well, like I said, there's live music, and you have to have a certain amount of electrical capabilities for any kind of band or, event or something.
And once
like that.
again, it's things like that get people to come down and enjoy the park, enjoy the ice rink or the roller rink that hopefully, can generate cost recovery funds.
Sounds like there's.
I'm glad to hear there's a plan for the roller rink part of it, and excited to make it a year-round thing. That'll be great.
Okay, so I'm hearing staff will jump into proceeding with working with the law department and Hoopla to get this in motion. I hope possibly we can bring legislation to the next council meeting. Depends how much Ben can make his group get to work.
We can get working on it.
Okay.
I know staff previously had some hesitations over some of the agreement details. Does staff feel comfortable with the agreement, or there's still some details?
Yes,
that are-
after the meeting with Avon and her group, we've got a lot of things ironed out.
Okay.
there's still some things to get the rough edges smoothed out, but I think that's probable that we'll get that taken care of. And at the end of the day, you know, I think this is going to be a really good thing for not only the downtown, but Middletown.
Well, I think the two questions I asked were my two biggest issues, and I think originally when we talked about that, it was the longevity of this. If it doesn't work out, how much are we going to be stuck as far as the bill? And then what if we put it in the first year and the thing needs $200,000 in maintenance? Where do we find that at? So I think with the warranty and with the buyback option, even if it's not at 100%, obviously it's not going to be, but at least we're hedging our bet first. It's just like going into an agreement with somebody. We're not using some random developer. I want to use a proven developer. So those are the types of things that I want to know and that I feel confident about.
Who is paying for the maintenance over time?
Once again, that's what part of the agreement we have to work out with Hoopla. And once again, as I said, part of the cost recovery of operations that we can recoup.
Okay, and then from a liability perspective, if the city were to purchase this and own it, that doesn't make us liable for,
Possibly, there's ways to work around it. Like you obviously would want to include a general liability insurance policy of which you'd want Hoopla to have and name the city as an additional insured. There's ways to manage the risk, but yeah. When
It would just
start
be like any other
engaging in-
park, right?
I'm sorry?
Would it just be like any other park?
Okay, well, it'd be kind of
Yes
like
and
the skate bowl that.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Ish, not to go into it too much, but there's ways in which we can manage the exposure that's associated with activities like that.
okay. As long as you got that covered.
We will have that covered for sure.
Absolutely.
Will that look any different when it moves from a city-owned property to a city-owned designated park, if that's designated as a park space?
A lot of that looked different in terms of degrees of exposure and in terms of
The
ownership,
type of-
use,
yeah,
operation.
Sure.
It may change some. We'll want to work with them a little bit more to figure out, okay, what does it look like at its next location year round? But yeah, I think we should draft it with an eye towards the present, but obviously taking into account what will occur in seemingly 3 years.
Yep. And we will make it look transformative and fungible. That's my goal.
One more question, the storage of the rink. I know it was mentioned at the work session that we're looking into Cohen, or is that something that the city is responsible for?
Cohen can't store the rink, they store lights, but they don't have space for the rink. We were talking with Jacob about different options. I did present.
So the city will be liable for storing the rink?
And that's once we're looking at our options on
Well,
the
that's
storage.
expensive too.
Yes.
Okay. That is a hidden cost we hadn't
Yeah.
taken into account yet.
Could be, yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Anything else for city manager reports?
That's all I have.
Okay, that brings us to consent agenda.
For consideration this evening, we have to confirm the personnel appointments of Matthew Smith to the position of Help Desk Administrator in the Information Systems Department, and Nathan Brandenburg to the position of Maintenance Worker in the Department of Public Works and Utilities Water Maintenance Division, to receive and file oaths of office for David Peter, Michael Profit, and Joseph Stafford, to approve a contract with Tri-State Public Safety of Middletown, Ohio for the purchase and installation of lighting and siren equipment for 2023 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD pickups in the amount of $33,029, and to approve the final plat for Waterford Place, Section 2.
I move that the matters listed under the consent agenda be considered routine and enacted by one motion and one vote of consent.
Second.
Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Muerspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
On the motion agenda, we have to authorize the purchase of approximately 800 residential water meters from Badger Meter Incorporated of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the amount of $127.19 each.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw?
Yes.
To authorize the city manager to enter into a cultural project cooperative use agreement with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission in order to receive state capital budget funds for the renovation and expansion of the Robert Sonny Hill Jr. Community Center.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Gank, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes. Mr. Yoder.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you, council. You've got 10 legislative items on the agenda tonight. 7 are proposed for passage as first reading emergencies, those specifically being items 1 through 5, and then items 8 and 9. So before we get started, I just request a motion to waive the charter provisions pertaining to second readings and effective dates for emergency legislation.
Before we do that, I have a question. I'm going to abstain from number 2. Should I abstain from the emergency request, or should we do it differently?
You're fine to vote on the emergency request. If you want to abstain from the legislation itself, I would just do that part later.
Okay.
Thank you. I would move that ordinance number O-2023-30, ordinance number O-2023-31, ordinance O O-2023-32, resolution number R-2023-11, ordinance number O-2023-33, ordinance number O-2023-36, ordinance number O-2023-37 be considered as an emergency measure and read one time only.
Second.
Ms. Gank, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr.
And-
Farrell.
Oops, sorry.
Yes.
And just for the record, all of them except ordinance O-2023-37 are second reading emergencies, so we're really just waiving the 30 days to enactment.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. All right, so first item on the agenda is ordinance number O-2023-30, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Branstetter Carroll, Inc. for engineering and design services for expansion of the Robert Sonny Hill Jr. Community Center and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Yeah, I don't have anything further to add from last week or meeting.
I've been thinking about this one so heavily, and I'm concerned that this project is going to incur so many more additional expenses than originally planned because of increased construction costs. And I feel like the community center has a great gym right now, and I think the price is so steep for an item we're already stretching to support. I feel like it would be better to scale the project back personally, and keep the current gym, just knowing that escalation of construction costs are going to be a part of this project, and I don't see any way all this is going to happen at the current levels that they're budgeting. I'm sure the committee is selecting what the community wants in their refreshed community center. Happy to support that original design, but I'm struggling with continuing to push funds at the hundreds of thousands of dollars level at this when we've got so many projects requesting funds and the dire situation with the fire stations. Every dollar counts right now, and this is a couple $100,000 more.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
Mr. Cahall, this is drawing down our existing funds, not adding to the funds?
That is correct. I mean, whatever the price.
We're not adding money. We're
This-
taking money from what we've already allotted.
Yeah, now, mind you, I think the mayor's point, though, is that this would be more money proportionally split towards design costs.
Right, it's not
versus
going toward
hard
the
construction
construction.
costs.
But it's not
Yes,
money
yeah.
that would have been going to the fire stations or going
My
to
point is
any
that
other folks.
this is a high cost for designing a gym that just wasn't part of the original plan, and I just think it's a lot more, and I feel like all those dollars are gonna need to go into the actual construction of a quality building. The costs are gonna continue to go up, and I'm concerned about the ability to accomplish the first basic mission, and instead we're gonna get stretched so thin to the point where gym's probably gonna fall off anyway because we can't fund the original plan. And so these dollars are never gonna come back. We're gonna expend them on a plan to do the gym, which I'm not saying isn't good to have a plan for the gym, but they're not recoverable, right? So once we spend this, the plans are in place and we're not getting the 200,000 back, whereas the rest of it, we can move it around and accomplish the mission that's there. I'm struggling with it, with just continuing to put more into an expanded plan with no expanded budget.
Mayor, it was my understanding, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but that the gym was always a part of this large idea that they had for expanding the Sunny Hill Community Center, and it was part of actually making it a more sustainable project, because this increased gym and all this increased space is something that will allow them to rent out and have more programming and just do more.
We allocated that extra $500,000 on top of it not that long ago, so it was not the original plan.
No, it was. If you go back and you look at all the options when we went to Butler County Commissioners for funding, they had all these different tiers, which included the gym.
Right, it's one of the tiered options.
The option without the gym was the tier that was taking money away from the project. The gym was always part of the project.
Then why did we allocate another half?
There was not enough money raised to pay for the gym, is what it was.
That is correct.
It was always a part of the plan.
Councilman Moon, I think there were 3 phases, and then it was, we couldn't get, when all the money was decided, that what we got from the schools and the city, the ARPA funds, that we could only do the first 2 phases, correct?
Yeah, it kind of started up here and came back down here. Not to say your points aren't fair. Your points are fair, and we've had a number of the committee's had a number of fundraising calls and had some success on those. I'm not going to announce anything, but there are tiers of the gym. The tier that you're thinking of is $3 million, and that is the big boy gym. But there are options below that that don't have to be a $3 million gym. That could be a $1.5 million gym. So I'm not saying that we're going to get there, and I'm confident it's 100%. But I also don't think it's a pipe dream that it's going to happen. So
I think that the cost for the design of it, is that technically what we're the engineering and design services? I believe that it's a percentage of the cost of the project. So if we're not going to get to the $3 million gym, could we not scale the engineering design costs back so that we're not spending so much on the engineering design of it?
We could, but we might get to the $3 million gym, and then you go do an add-on, and it's more expensive.
And then it could be more expensive, correct? I'm confident we will get there to the 3 million. We've got some good options we're looking at, and then that's the catch right there. At the end of the day, it'd be more expensive to go back.
And Paul, was part of the hiccup in the financing of this project part of the request that we made from the county for the project, and then what they returned to us with, and that's part of what has created a little bit of this gap?
We certainly requested more and did not get as much as we requested from the county ARPA funds.
I don't know if I would, yes, if you want to call it a hiccup in funding, but at the same time, when this project all started, just like the fire stations, it was easily paid for with what we had, and it's just inflation and rise of costs. It's just, hate to keep saying it, but it's what it is.
Are we still doing the committee meetings? I don't even know. You're the rep?
Yes.
Al and I are both on it, yeah.
What's been the discussion there with the cost and?
It's a similar conversation. It's pretty much full court press onto private fundraising at this point.
Right.
I would say I'm the guy in the room that's like, let's bet on the smaller gym with the less fancy items, which I know is not what everybody wants to hear. At the same time, if we don't do this now, then we're never going to do it. So if we have to spend slightly more of funds that are already allocated towards it, then I'm okay with that in case that money does come in, because we're losing a little bit of money, but we're not losing the opportunity. And I guess from my perspective, I'm willing to risk a little bit of that in order to, because I'm not in charge of the fundraising, but from what I hear, it's going all right. So
the next committee meeting is this Thursday night.
To me, this is an investment in that neighborhood specifically, and I am looking at it that way. I know it's a use for the entire city, but specifically I know, it is in the census tracts we were looking at, and so I'm of course willing to invest in that community. I just want to make sure that the dollars are going the best place they can for them, so that we're giving that neighborhood what they want as well.
Yes, and you know, you make a great point, and the one thing that's kept me going on this, because I was, you know, worrisome about it, but you know what, I think at the end of the day, and as successful as I think we're going to be on this, that this is going to be there 40 and 50 years down the road from here. We're going to be remembered because we had the vision to get this full-size gymnasium in there. That's really, I think, going to be a good asset, not only for that area of town, but also for all of Middletown, especially with the cooperation from the schools of busing a lot of students in, and then it'll be good for the adult segment of the population also.
To be honest with you, Mayor, I agree with most everything you said. If this gets built out the way that it has the potential to, my biggest worry about this whole project is long-term sustainability. Honestly, it's going to raise our bills. It's going to raise everybody's bills. So if other people that are a part of the board and everybody else, if they can raise the money to where they can bring in more revenue this way, that's how we control the long-term sustainability of the project.
Absolutely. I just know when I asked the question about what research had been done on that business model as far as renting out the gym, they said, oh, we know there's a market for it, and there's really no research done to prove, right? It's a gut feeling, and so to me, I'm like, ugh, if I were starting a business, I wouldn't want to go on, yeah, there's a need, I didn't do the research, but I have a good feeling like it's going to turn a profit. And that's where I feel like that part kind of fell short, and I'm not saying it can't turn a profit, I just don't have any data to show it, and I like data. So,
I mean, do they already have a couple of organizations lined up that they want to work with that would use the gym? I feel like I've heard about the, what was it, the Boys and Girls Club?
I think it's hard to sign agreements if you don't know your.
Right, but they have had conversations with people about how they would potentially use the space if it was there.
Yes.
I think they're definitely trying to have
Yes.
those conversations, assuming everything goes well, and they do have this gym and this ability.
Yeah, there's conversations, but no commitment, like,
Right.
yeah, I'm talking more about market research, not like
and that also.
like what other events or space rentals are in the area, and what distance are they, and what are people charging, and how full are they, and all of that kind of market research. But
In Middletown, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that either.
yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate the conversation about it, and I don't mean to drag it out longer. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Second item is ordinance number O 2023-31, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Jones Warner Consultants, Inc. to design an extension of the sanitary sewer near North Union Road and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Mr. Lowell,
Nothing further to add.
any comments or questions? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Abstain.
Third item is ordinance number O 2023-32, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Yoakum Fireworks LLC and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Anything else?
Nothing further to add.
Any other comments or questions from council? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Fourth item is resolution number R 2023-11, a resolution authorizing a transfer subject to reimbursement from the general fund to the Airport Improvement Fund and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Nothing further to add.
Any comments or questions from council?
Do we know when the project will start construction?
We have a pre-con, I think tentatively scheduled with Sunesis here in the next probably 5 to 10 business days. And from there, I believe, Joe may be in the audience to tell me, but I think they've committed to a 90-day completion window. Depending upon where we are on their schedule, and the like. I mean, you're not looking at a huge project. They could be done in about a week and a half, start to finish, if they just get good weather.
Okay.
And what is the deadline from the FAA?
We have to expend these funds this year.
This year.
This is a carryover continuation. You'll remember last year, we actually bid this project out last year, actually the same vendor, and the FAA never awarded the grant dollars finally for like 6 months. So we lost our window and people holding price, so we had to redo it.
I just had a request that we make sure the Hops in the Hangar group is aware of the timing of this, just because I know they are, they actively use that
Yeah.
general vicinity.
Yeah, we'll be having a kind of a quasi town hall meeting with all of our airport folks and patrons and tenants out there once we meet with Sunesis here in the next couple weeks.
When is Hops in the Hangar?
August?
I should know.
So for next 10 business days and they have 90 days to complete, they should be done in time, allegedly.
If they can fit us in, we're hoping we can be done before the 4th of July.
Okay.
If it all depends on where we are on their dance card. I mean, they have projects all over the place, but if they can fit us in, that'd be great.
And out of an abundance of caution, I confirmed with legal that these were fine for me to vote on, so.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gang, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Fifth item is ordinance number O-2023-33, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Sunesis Construction for the airport ramp expansion project and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Nothing
Further.
further to add.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gang, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Sixth item is ordinance number O-2023-34, an ordinance amending sections 660.045 pertaining to accumulation of rubbish, garbage, or litter, 660.21 pertaining to yard maintenance, 1436.06 pertaining to remedial actions, 1458.10 pertaining to effecting compliance in various sections of chapters 678 pertaining to weeds and 1030 pertaining to trees, shrubs, and plants of the codified ordinances. This is a second reading.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Anything further?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Gang, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Seventh item is ordinance number O-2023-35, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum principal amount of $8 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the costs of the acquisition by the city of approximately 30 acres of real property along Union Road and State Route 122 for a multi-use development, demolition of existing structures, and the design, engineering, and construction of related and necessary public infrastructure, including but not limited to water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer utilities, roads, traffic signals and controls, curbs, gutters, intersections, sidewalks, lighting, and related infrastructure, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, all in support of economic development and job creation within the city. That is a very long-winded second reading.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Nothing further to add.
I have one thing, actually, Paul, is I wanted to say, we actually had a deadline for the RFPs for the engineering, and preliminary look, I think we'll be well below that maximum borrowing limit. We actually got really good pricing. We're going through those proposals right now. So we're making sure everyone's math's right, but we're
I've
actually,
never heard you say that, a really good price on something.
yes,
That's exciting.
yes.
Good.
Once.
Okay, let's
Buy a
make sure the
lottery
decimal's
scratch off
not
tonight on your
wrong.
way home. There you go.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, Ms. Gang, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Eighth item is ordinance number O-2023-36, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Neighborhood Housing Services of Hamilton, Inc. for implementation of a first-time home buyer assistance program and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Anything-
Nothing further to add.
Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Kank, will you please call the roll?
Ask who seconded that. Sorry. If I'm not looking right at you, sometimes I can't tell. Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Meterspaugh.
Yes.
Ninth item is ordinance number O 2023-37, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Automation Displays, Inc. to purchase locking mechanisms for doors in the city jail and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second?
Mr. Lawley.
Council, this is to purchase a locking mechanism for the jail doors for $32,270 from Automated Display Incorporated. They are a sole source provider, and we are having significant issues with our locking mechanisms on the jail door, and it takes them up to 12 to 14 weeks, and that's part of the reason why this is an emergency.
Not a door you
legislation.
want to have a problem with.
No, yep.
Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Kank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Meterspaugh,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
The 10th and final item on the agenda is ordinance number O 2023-38, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to grant 2 utility easements to Cleveland Cliffs for installation of a water transmission main across city-owned parcels Q65 210100000114 and Q65 2103000009. This is a first reading.
Mr. Lawley.
Council, this is Cleveland Cliffs is in need of replacing the water line that runs from their pump station at the Maple Street area of the river clear through to the plant off of going into Yankee Road. And they need a couple of permanent easements on city-owned property in the aforementioned parcels.
Any comments or questions? That brings us to new business. Do we have any items that anyone would like to raise this evening? I spoke with Rep. Hall about the property tax increases. I thought I'd give you guys an update on that. Now, out of abundance of clarity, I'm playing phone tag with Nancy Nix, so I haven't confirmed what Rep. Hall said. And he did request that I confirm with her, so I haven't done that. So this is from Rep. Hall, but he caveated that I should confirm with Nancy. So, but he just wanted to clarify that the property tax increases are not policy decisions passed as legislature. So just some clarification of what it is and how it's done. He said they're mandated from the state constitution and administered by the Department of Taxation, so the tax commissioner. And the increases are, we're, commenting, of course, they're unfortunately the downside to people improving their properties partially. So there's that. But it's a triennial reevaluation of property values, and Butler County has a measurement that's used at the auditor's office to address why the increase is warranted. So maybe we can get some clarification from Nancy Nix on that one. But there are 14 counties being affected by this year's property valuation. It boils down to we're in a bad cycle for being reevaluated because of the economy's current inflationary rates. Rep. Hall's working with his colleagues to investigate what authority they have to claim any sort of extraordinary circumstances or find an option to address the issue short of changing the state constitution. The budget is in the Senate right now, which has nothing to do with property values, but there could be things put in there to ease the burden of the tax increases. But at this point, it's up to Senator Lang. So if anyone wants to, has ideas about that you want to share with Senator Lang, that would be the person based on where the budget sits right now. Any sort of policy changes would take about 2 to 4 years to get into effect, Rep. Hall said. So if we don't do anything about it now, we'll have to wait until the next valuation process to really see the effects on any policy. He did also send me one more update. He had a few potential solutions. So I'll just read these out that are being thought of or considered. One is require the tax commissioner to use 3 years of sales data when deciding sales ratio percentages. I believe some of these are actual changes to the Ohio Constitution, just to be clear. So I'm not sure which are and which are not. I did ask him that follow-up question. Another, give the tax commissioner the discretion to lower the required ratio percentage. State issue credits to taxpayers from general fund surplus. Modify 20 mil floor as it currently exists, so to include substitute and emergency levies in the calculation. Another is to revise school funding formula to cap contribution from local taxes. Another is to reinstate rollback credits for all levies. Another, increase the homestead exemption and raise income qualification. And then the final one he had on the list was increase awareness of tax dilution impacts from exemptions and abatements. So they're definitely making efforts. Some of those are above my head as to the impacts that they will have, but they are aware of it, and there's no outcome as of right now. But I thought I'd at least give everybody that update.
So I'll say I appreciate you saying all that. It's really informative. So I've read multiple times today that people say, oh, we're in a bad cycle. And we should use 3 years sales stats to figure this out. Well, guess what? The next counties next year, the 14 counties or whatever it is, they're going to be in a bad cycle. And the year after that, they're going to be in a bad cycle. Because if you want to use that, if you want to use 3 years sales stats, everybody's going to be in the same situation. We're just on the front end of it. The only real way to fix it, in my opinion, and this is above my head, right, and above my pay grade, but the percentage that homes are taxed has to come down. That's the only way to fix this, to actually alleviate a burden. The rest of it's not going to do anything, because the facts are the facts. The market is up probably that much, honestly. There's houses in Middletown that, in specific neighborhoods, that are up 60, 70%, honestly, and 42%'s, I hate to say it out loud, but it's a break, right? So at the end of the day, that's the only real way to fix this, is to bring the tax down. All I got.
I'll bite my tongue, not on what you said, not when you said, but on the whole state level process.
Okay, well, there's no other comments on that one. Do we have any other new business items?
No, I've said enough.
Me too. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks.
Okay, if we have no further new business items, we have a request to move to executive session under the authority of ORC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage. Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Ginku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw? Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
And I do not believe we have plans to come back to vote on anything, so we will, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we will come back in open session merely for the purpose of adjourning. And our next meeting will be on the 16th of May at 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.